Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. The world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. Well, let's see what the markets are doing for us today. We got stuff to talk about, though. I don't know. We might have to talk about politics today. I think you guys are going to make me do it, aren't you? Now let's go over to the charts here. Starting with the treasuries. I mean, yesterday, they were up, right? Overnight, we given up all those gains. And here, even on the open, they're kind of moving down too. You can see just right here at the moment. And we are above 2.8. So, I think one of the main catalysts here was Bank of England governor had some things he was saying, we might have to get more aggressive, but at some point we'll get more dovish too. I don't know. It was kind of funny. It was like, we're hawkish, but maybe sometime we won't be. Maybe we'll see. So that might be what's driving that. I think that, and then again, while we do have like U.S. unit labor cost preliminary and U.S. productivity preliminary here this morning, we've got some 52-week bill auctions, 3-year note auction, and then tomorrow's CPI, of course, right? Coming over to the S&P 500, not a terrible day yesterday, but they just kind of sorted it out. The small caps did really well, though. Some of the small caps did well on a relative basis. So, oil spiking here this morning. Some more noise in Ukraine. I can't remember the exact details, but like a pipeline shut down or something like that. So small spike in oil, but I mean we're still around $90. So a long ways to go back to 100. Natural gas kind of middling around. And now silver and gold continue to look good, and gold being above 1800 again is awfully encouraging, right? And you got silver just yesterday was just amazing. Like this was like, oh man, we got creamed, and then whoa, what? That's good stuff. Copper's still kind of on the uptrend, so I think maybe the world economy will be okay. I mean, as long as China doesn't like go down in the dumps again, world economy is probably okay. Let's turn down some music here real quick. There we go. And then we got the Bitcoins. Well, Bitcoin action has been looking really good, getting above 24,000 briefly. But they are on the downturn here at the moment. So that is essentially where we're at this morning. I do think that in the treasuries, I would kind of prefer to take a short. Of course, like in the larger picture, I'm still concerned about inflation, but maybe that CPI comes in cooling off. Maybe that changes tomorrow, right? So shouldn't get too anxious. Looking at the liquidity conditions here, well, it's about what it was yesterday. Remember, we kind of had thousands and 1200s on there, but then they started trading and it kind of got worse. So let's see if they're a little bit more resilient today. I'm hoping they're a little bit resilient today, but we don't have significant news. One thing you got to watch out for is sometimes when you have Tuesday with no major news, as is often the case, sometimes those sessions are just absolute snoozers. I mean, like literally nothing happens, and it is such boring trade. And that could be the case here this morning. But sometimes the big boys decide to use that opportunity to make big moves. And you can see, especially in the S&P 500, really massive moves. So that's kind of where we're at. It's like, I'm not expecting anything to happen, but there's fat tails, right? I'm expecting maybe I won't even take trades. I have to admit I was not. I have to admit. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that the baby kept me up last night. But the baby did keep me up last night. He's got a cold. I am concerned that the baby's cold is turning into pneumonia, because that cough is pretty, it's pretty hockey, So just kind of relax here for the moment. There was a little bit of an impulse continuing down, like the initial impulse in the treasuries was down. It wasn't a huge amount of volume, but you can already see it reversing, right? Can already see it reversing pretty hard. So another thing, I mean, we can talk about this later, maybe when we're people around, but it should be noted that Donald Trump's mansion, Mar-a-Lago mansion, was raided by the FBI last night. Now, we can talk about the implications of that and whether that was justified and so forth later, but just realize that here for the markets this morning, even though it doesn't have a direct impact on us, the markets at the moment, although I do think that there could be some political implications from it. But it is going to suck all of the air out of the room, right? Like, we're kind of in a situation where the market was not likely to get much news this morning. Well, now because of that, it's definitely going to be like everybody is going to be talking about that, right? So the setup that I see this morning, I hate to make a prediction like this, because when it's like, oh well, okay, I'm gonna go back to sleep. I don't think the trade's gonna be very good. So maybe I understand if you go to sleep, but guys, today could be a really big day. That's the way it works. This is like 80% of the time it's really slow, but then that 20% of the time that it's not, it's like some of the biggest days, some of the strongest trends. So let's just see where they go. It looks like the 10-year is determined to head back to 2.8 again, maybe. I need to dab my eyes here. All right, so let's see what we are seeing on the Twitters. Cassandra, BC, Michael J. Burry. Senator Grassley earlier this year accused the head of the FBI Washington, D.C. field office of running a biased political vendetta, including burying the Hunter Biden story. The same Washington, D.C. office carried out the raid of Trump's home in South Florida. This is not just an ex-president. Trump is the current leading candidate for the Republican spot in 24. Biden says he will seek re-election, so his attorney general is raiding Biden's likely opponent. For the same type of crimes, Hillary was not subpoenaed and not raided. Third world. Well, that is an interesting... You know what is something that's so funny? No one is really talking about the Chinese economy being on the edge of the cliffs right now. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about that, right? It was there's a big problem with their housing market. Some of their mortgage companies are having problems. As a result, many people are saying that they're just not going to pay their bills anymore. Market is shrugging it off. Why do you think that is? Well, treasuries flipped back down to the bottom, and when they did that, I'm seeing some flattening on the 5-year end of the curve. 30% of GDP. Well, but I guess the thing is that at the moment, there is nothing to indicate to us that this is going to lead to some sort of larger contagion problem. It's like, yeah, there will be problems, and they'll bail everybody out and take care of things the way that the big government central planners do, and it'll all be fine. I mean, here's the thing that's funny about this, right? Was that when we were looking at the world's the largest lender over there, what was their names? I don't even remember the name of the company now, but right, they were like on the verge of bankruptcy, and everybody thought they were going to default, and then they didn't default, but like my understanding is that since then that company is like gone kaput essentially, right? And that it is spreading. So like the market was reacting to that, and then it was like, oh, the bad thing didn't happen. And then later the bad thing did happen, but nobody was paying attention to it, and so the market didn't react. Isn't that weird? Well, orders are what matters. I think that probably a factor in here is that the U.S. economy is just very much on the edge about the jobs and interest rates situation, right? The economy in China doesn't have a direct impact on us, or at least it hasn't gotten to the point where it has a direct impact on us in that, like, it forces orders, right? Like there are some people that would have to come and participate in the market to be able to continue conducting business, essentially, right? I don't think that's happened. And so when you do get orders in our markets about it, it's still just speculation at this point. And since everybody's more concerned about speculating about something else. By the way, good morning, Octavius. Mohammed A. Arian, the U.S. yield curve inversion 2s and 10s will start the Tuesday trading session at 46 basis points. 2-year at 3.2, 10-year at 2.8. I don't know. I really think that the yield curve might be giving us, I'm not going to say like bad signals, but I think something you have to keep in mind is that they really like the 10. They really like the 10 right now. And it is like way down on the curve compared to probably where it would normally be. Like, I think that normally the trade here would be like a barbell, right? Where you're selling the 10 and buying the 2 and the 30, right? On those coming back in. But anybody that would put that trade on, it would be a pretty scary trade, right? Because you're like reversing, you're going against the momentum in the spread essentially, right? So I'm not quite sure what it takes to reverse that, but we want to keep an eye on that, and we want to keep an eye on steepening. This morning, we're not seeing that steepening, we're seeing continued flattening. Lawrence Summer, in the face of core inflation above 5% and accelerating, the Fed has recently generated a significant easing of financial conditions. The Fed remains behind the curve in its actions, and if the last press conference is any guide, it was way behind in its assessments too. Yes, there will be disinflation coming from, maybe I need to go to the beginning of this. I've been thinking about the economy post-employment report. The report confirms that the economy is unsustainably hot with every kind of underlying inflation measure, core wages, medium trimmed, mean sticky price sectors, unit labor costs running way above target. Yes, there will be inflation coming from gasoline and other commodity prices, even though it influences, as it should, expectation measures because they are the full CPI. It does not mean inflation is coming under control. There is no legitimate public policy argument for the maintenance of carried interest Yes, there is. Sorry, no, you're not looking at the full picture. So here's the problem with the carried interest. There, yes, farm or hedge fund managers use the carried interest loophole to basically not have to pay taxes on what they make from being a hedge fund. Yes, but farms also use this loophole. That's the problem. There are some small businesses that kind of rely on this, and that's why Cienma protects it. Now, of course, they've got to carve it out. But what they do is they basically instead of saying they, carve it out or whatever, they just say, no, we need to protect farmers and just keep it and not have anything in the bill whatsoever about it. And then that's what happens. Well, okay. Tornado crash got synced. Okay, so yeah, there's the big mixer for Ethereum that allows you to anonymize your transactions. Got shut down. So US regulators are basically going after services that help criminals launder money. I think that's a significant development in the cryptocurrency space. We'll see where that goes. Truth is found solely in nuances. Consequently, finding truth in politics is useless. I don't think that that's strictly true. It's more that the truths that end up having the biggest impact for us in our society today tend to be more in nuances because we already found all the obvious things. Oh, Olivia Newton-John died. Okay, guys, do not stick. Oh my gosh, that music was not the right music anyways. I was like, this doesn't sound right. I just went and pushed play and it just decided to not go on my list anymore. Don't put sirens in your music. That's the worst. I hate that. I hate that crap. I'm like, something's going on. I hear the police outside. No, it was just the music. It was just the music. What do you mean pissing lots of people off already? Politics influenced. Jim Iorio, I'm not saying nothing about silver. Jinxed it too many times. I like me an old school dub siren. Yeah, I mean like a foghorn or whatever, that's great. But when it sounds like a police siren or an ambulance, I hate that. I hate that. Don't put that in your songs. The worst was when people would put that in their songs and you're like driving, right? Don't do that. Or they would put them in commercials. Oh, that should be illegal. Put it in a commercial. Do you think that the raid on the house in Florida was a phishing campaign? So let's try and think this through, okay? Because this is actually really kind of an interesting situation to try and do the analysis and make predictions about it, okay? So we don't know why he was raided. We do not know why Donald Trump was raided exactly, okay? Donald Trump made a statement, and in his statement, he specifically mentioned like things that Hillary Clinton took when they left office and so forth. So And some background here is that there are some documents that Donald Trump has that are supposedly classified, although Donald Trump claims that he has declassified them. And they have been requested by the National Archiver or whatever. And he's been basically sandbagging on it, like not giving them back in a timely manner. Okay. So it is likely, based on his comments and the overall context and everything, that they were raiding his house to obtain those documents back. Okay. The ongoing, so he claims, Donald Trump claims that those documents are just like fond memories. Like it's all of the letters Kim Jong-un sent him that are basically like love letters, for instance. That's what he's saying, right? The conspiracy theorists on Reddit claim that those documents were him doing illegal things, and that, you know, it's gonna show that he was involved in crime. Okay, that's what they said. But the other thing that he could possibly be rated for is like January 6th stuff, right? So let's game this out. We got three options, right? One is that it was for January 6th stuff. Well, the outcome of that is uncertain, because I have a hard time seeing what kind of documents you would get that would really, really undo him. Just based on his behavior, like on the day, I highly doubt that you're going to find some document of him. Well, I mean, that he wouldn't be, that stuff wouldn't be in the White House at that point, right? It's just, so I don't think it's that. Okay. But that one doesn't lead to anything interesting. Okay. Now let's say that the Democrats are right, that they raided his house and the documents show significant wrongdoing by the president, right? Well, then we should be hearing something about it in the next week or two, and Donald Trump will be arrested, and, you know, like crazy stuff will happen. Now hold on for a second. How many of you think that that's what's going to happen? You think that Donald Trump's going to get arrested in the next month? That seems unlikely, right? Okay. Next option. The documents really were what Donald Trump says that they were. Okay. So one of the things that has been said about this whole fiasco is the amount of hoops that you would have to go through in order to get such a subpoena. Okay. Like the guy at the top of the Department of Justice would have had to have been involved, and federal judge would have had to have signed off on it. And they're pretty picky about that sort of a thing. All true. Big authorization. Okay. A lot of people use that to say this must prove that they really had something significant on him to justify the raid. I don't think so. I don't think that necessarily means that. If the crime that he is guilty of is keeping those documents and not giving them back in a timely manner, I think that it is pretty clear that he was guilty of that crime, and that he did have them in Mar-a-Lago, and that they had every reason to believe that they were in Mar-a-Lago. And I think that could be enough to get us a search warrant. I think that could be enough to get a search warrant. And that would all be, according to my understanding of the law and everything, that would all be above board, and like you could get a judge to sign off on that, right? So you wouldn't necessarily be doing anything wrong by raiding his house to get that, per se. It's just, is it worth it? Is it worth it? So 2 weeks go by, we don't hear anything, right? They don't want to tell us what's in the documents because it's quote unquote classified. And then we have this argument over whether it's actually classified or not, because Donald Trump says that he unclassified them. You get what I mean? It seems to me that the most likely outcome of all of this is nothing significant. That they raided his house, and it's not going to be worth it politically, because this is really going to upset Republicans. And what it does I think, is it turns the politicization of government agencies into the top the top issue for Republicans, doesn't it? Right? So here's what I think is the long run political ramifications for this that could impact markets. Right now, they are passing a law that is going to increase the IRS substantially, and Republicans don't like that because the IRS has been used to bully Republican organizations in the past, right? Yeah, as soon as the Republicans get in office, they're going to do everything they can to decimate federal agencies. They're going to defund the IRS. They're going to defund the FBI or restructure it. Like all of this, seriously, like that's the Republicans' top issue. Number one. Number two, this puts Donald Trump back on the map, paradoxically, because you're making him a martyr. Like before, I don't see how Donald Trump becomes president again. I don't think that he could win the Republican nomination, and I don't think that he would win a general election, even with as bad as Joe Biden has been, right? But now that you've turned him into a martyr, and assuming that they don't have something on him, right? If that doesn't lead to anything, then you just put him back on the map. You want a reason for Donald Trump to be able to win another election? You just gave it to him. IRS apparently had some weapons. Oh yeah, yeah, that's everybody's been joking about that too. But you get where I'm going. So the long run implication of this could be that small businesses taxes may end up being less in the long run. Like right now, it looks like the Democrats want to push. Oh man! So here's another thing: is the whole bill is we're going to increase IRS enforcement, and because of that, the amount of money that we're going to make back is going to pay for all this stuff. They can't seriously believe that, do they? Democrats don't really believe that, do they? Because like, for real, you really think that that's the amount of money that is being laundered out there? I don't think it's as much as they think it is. I really don't. I don't think that this is going to reduce the deficit in the way that they think it will. I think that it just makes the IRS larger and more powerful. And I do kind of question if they really need the manpower. But it also kind of sets up an interesting question because, you know, I complain all about the SEC does nothing, right? I think that the reality that we're starting to come to is that in order to enforce the rules around these things where there's really a great incentive for people to cheat, it's just not practical at a federal level, at least. This is not practical for the agencies to pursue all of that. It requires too much manpower. So you're going to have to approach the problem from a different direction. So that's what I think is going to end up happening from it. So the question is it really worth it? So I'm not sure that they did something wrong, but like the Republicans are going to come, they're going to have hearings in the House once they're in charge. They're going to, they're going to grill every agency, but they won't be able to do anything until they actually have the presidency, right? But if they get the presidency, yeah, they're going to go after the FBI. They will, 100%. Well, Treasury's seeing a pretty decent bounce back up here. They have touched 2.8. It is a reversal of the move that we had just before the open. The overall trend is still very much down. They haven't kind of reached like overnight equilibrium levels yet, so the action that I'm seeing overall, I'd say that's a pretty decent trend, but they did a lot of damage to liquidity behind them to do it as well. So I kind of see another slippery market in a relatively slow situation. Nothing to tell me that I'm really gonna have a strong reason to think that flow could come through, although I think that there is a minority situation where it does. So it's probably better for me to just kind of sit on the sideline here. What? Infrastructure, $300 to $400 billion bill is going to help us for bullishness on news passing it. My sell market has seen it coming. I don't know. I don't think that the market is too concerned with it. I think that all of the analysis that we've done, every piece of analysis that I've seen says that this doesn't really help anybody, that it doesn't really do anything, and that really what this really is a handout for Democrat contributors, right? That's really what it is in the end. Top GOPer on House Intel Committee writes to the FBI Director Wray about the Trump raid, calls it unprecedented, and asks for an immediate briefing. A live monitor here saying the actions by the Biden administration officials ensures that they will never be confirmed for a position in the White House again. Yeah, there's no Republican House will confirm any of those appointments, sure. I vastly overestimated how labor costs and productivity was going to move the treasuries 10.8 and negative 4.6 respectively. Yeah, that's never been a number that I've ever really paid attention to. But I did note, I am realizing that I didn't have my news squawk on because I didn't even hear the number. Totally forgot about it. Totally forgot about it. I mean, that might be why they're moving up, but the labor cost preliminary was higher than expected. That is inflationary, but they're going the other way. We are going to get Red Book here in a moment. Red Book again is something that is not typically a market mover though. I do think it's going to be interesting to see what news we get today. Yeah. Oh, okay. But maybe I made a post yesterday and I don't know. I don't know how many people actually saw it. Maybe I had the settings on it set to be like, oh no, I got 5 likes. I got 5 likes. That's not bad. This is just a video, a little blurb for promoting our indicator package. I was like, oh, I don't think I got any likes or anything, but now I got 5 likes. I'm gonna guess that the majority of my audience is not on mobile, and that's where you see those most often. So. Okay, Treasury's a little pullback and now pushing back up again. Something that I've seen consistently on the Treasuries here is that, like, it's like a short, but the speculators are all going long. It's like they're so cynical about it, and they've been like this the whole time. They've gotten slaughtered many times, and yet they continue to buy it. I find that curious. You get 7 likes. Yeah, well, I don't think that most of my audience is, you only see those posts when you're on mobile. So I don't think that the majority of my audience even gets to see those, which is an interesting thing. It kind of seems to me that if I wanted to like do something promotional, that my best bet is to do it on TikTok. But it is a little frustrating with the way that this all kind of works, that the reach that I actually get to be able to promote something like that isn't very good. It seems to me that if I really wanted to have the reach where I just post a little blurb and, you know, it could promote something, that you need to be on Twitter. And I don't have a very large Twitter following. It's very difficult to build a Twitter following for whatever reason. It seems like that interacting on the platform doesn't get you very many followers today. Like TikTok, you just post a video and at least one person will follow you from it. It's crazy. But Twitter, it's like the discovery is all gone or something. The thing is especially for you guys on Ninja Turtle, because look, every platform is different. I'm just continually astounded by the tools that platforms don't have, right? Like, no platform has this dollar index, synthetic dollar index that I put out, which is just really crazy to me. That they don't even have the facilities for you to be able to create it yourself. Most platforms don't have spreads. Well, I get it. Most of you guys are trading equities, they focus on that. But like for me, we're trading treasuries. Essential tool. I think that it'd be a really useful tool if you're in equities or wherever else, right? But so many platforms don't have it. How is this the case? Right? Most retail traders don't know what a DOM is. I just can't. How are you people trading? I don't get it. Kushishin posting something, but I'm not going to read it because it's just nonsense. Jake Sherman confirms conservative from Republican Representative Jim Bank, who chairs the Republican study. I don't know what that is. Will take about a dozen RSC members to New Jersey tonight for dinner with Trump. It had previously been scheduled, but per two people familiar with the matter, they expect it to be a solidarity moment for Donald J. Trump with the House's right flank. I'm really starting to wonder if this is going to turn into Donald Trump running for president again, man. He'll run for president and he will scatter the three-letter agencies to the wind. Well, that'll make it really hard for him to win. I personally feel that he himself is just such a big distraction that politically speaking, it's better for Republicans for him to not run, but hmm. Well, building decent volume there in 19.5. DeSantis is a stronger. I think that the Democrats certainly see DeSantis as a stronger opponent. Yeah. You never know how the primaries might work out, though. You might be surprised how weak he gets when he's on stage. I think that he has a high enough profile that it's unlikely that he gets on stage and he just completely stumbles. But if you're the front runner, think about when Donald Trump was the front runner in the Republican primaries, right? In the year that he did it, everybody came for him, and he was able to weather the attacks because he's just so clever with the comebacks and stuff, right? I don't think that DeSantis is likely to be on that level for that, you know? So, there could be surprises. It's really hard to make a full assessment of how strong a candidate is until they've been in a debate and we've seen them on the campaign trail. The moment he sure looks strong, though. So I think that the risk that DeSantis has is that he has been taking a very direct approach on issues. There hasn't been a lot of room for nuance in what he's done. He's just been taking the political track, right? And the risk that you run with that is you're going to run into a situation where nuance matters, and your opponents could hit you for that, right? So they're going to come in and they're going to ask him a question about a policy, and he's going to be like, well, we should do this X thing, which is the most aggressive thing that you could do. I'm the tough Republican, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then everybody else comes along and says, well, here's why that's a really stupid idea, right? And then you look like you don't know what you're doing. And that has happened to many Republican candidates, right? So that's what usually happens to the far right candidate, is that they'll say stuff and act all tough, and then when the rubber hits the road, their policies aren't really workable, right? So I'm just not willing at the moment to make predictions that like DeSantis will be the nominee. And the other issue is, what if Donald Trump runs? So it's DeSantis versus Trump. They could bloody each other up, right? DeSantis has kind of made his name by being a full-throated Trump supporter, but that could like flip so quickly. He's like Trump, but significantly more likable. Well, I think that they've picked up on the thing that the far right likes is bold action, right? And so the reason they like DeSantis is that he's not afraid to take bold action, even not in areas where there's a lot of political risks, right? Could you mention Trump as his VP? Oh no. I'm really still on the fence that on whether or not Trump will actually run, but I feel like that this whole raid thing makes it significantly more likely that he will. I'm not feeling so well all of a sudden. Food's hitting my stomach. You know, while I'm thinking about it, what is the CPI report consensus estimates for tomorrow? Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's just the headline. Headline forecast is spot 2 because oil did come down quite hard. Core CPI estimate is 0.5, with the previous being 0.7. So they are setting themselves up for a situation where, again, if the core CPI is higher than anticipated, market could probably be really ugly. Disinflation, well, I think that there's a little bit of disagreement in the market about why oil has fallen the way that it has. They're kind of the mainline suggestion that we've been seeing is that gasoline demand is plummeting. I really question how that can continue unless the economy is really truly going into a recession, right? But like the Goldman analysts seem to think that now is a great time to buy oil. So, but core inflation is more indicative of inflation in the long run, and that's going to be a more influential number in these circumstances. The estimate has been spot 5 for like the whole year. They underperformed that one time, and then every other time they've overperformed. So, yeah, like if it comes out and it's spot 6, I don't think that would be like the market completely fall apart, but it would be pretty bad. I don't think that they would completely melt like they did last time. Seeing a jump in oil in gold here. It's kind of looks like it's on its own. I'm not seeing a change in the dollar really. Could be just from the treasuries bidding up. But so far in the treasuries, the action doesn't look too interesting to me. You could make money in this, but it's not really doesn't look like for me. So I think we read that pretty well. Need to so I'm still seeing flattening. I want to know, how do you guys trade without a spread chart? Look at this, okay? So here's our 2s and 10s. Look at this whole move up. Flattening. Flattening. They're all flattening, right? Come back over here to the larger charts here. Flattening. Chart going down means flattening. Knob spread, flattening. It's actually a little bit steeper than it was than on the 16th. I mean, you can see it on the DOM, but like you're not going to remember every little turn and everything, and how much noise there is on it. Because seriously, look at it on a short-term scale, right? There's a lot of noise in it. You can pull a tick out there a lot. How do people trade without spread charts? How do you trade without the dollar index? You got to know what your currency is doing. So we're seeing a move in oil here. This little move going on here. Okay. But the dollar here isn't really doing anything interesting at the point at which gold moved up, right? So normally when I see a move in gold, there's like some correlation to the treasuries and the dollar, but not this time. It looks like an isolated move. That might mean that move is more likely to retrace. It's just very curious to me that gold is taking off. Seeing maybe a little bit of a rise here in oil as well. But like seriously, guys, if you do not have, is those 5 things? Here's the 5 things. As I think you want spread charts. You want to be able to see the dollar. You want a depth of market and a new squawk. I don't know how people are trading without those things. How are people trading without that? I don't get it. Well, if you're on NinjaTrader and you don't have my indicator package, I would highly recommend going and getting it. It's $100 and you get those features. I'm adding more stuff soon, so. Slovak refiner Slavnaft says production continues despite Druzhba oil pipeline interruption. That was, I think, the reason for the spike in oil this morning. But oil is continuing to move up. Treasuries have reversed their move to the upside considerably. I mean, I could make the case for going short here. The timing of it is certainly interesting. Well, maybe 7:05 is a little early, but I think that this action is still sleepy enough that I don't really want to put cash at risk, but I am kind of getting the sense that they might sell here. Like the upside action was not very good. The volume continues to be to the downside. Reset this. One of the issues that I have here is that if I were to go long 2.81, I might still be able to get 2.81. So if I'm long from there, the flattening doesn't necessarily help me, right? Plus, we still got the S&P 500 to open up, and that could lead to some volatility. Government reported today that unit labor costs rose at an 11.7% annual rate in the first half of 2022, and the Chicago Fed tells us financial conditions are easier than normal and have eased over the last 2 months. Yes. So Larry Summers trying to make the case that Federal Reserve needs to be more aggressive, essentially. Good website to see the news. How about CNBC? No, so if you don't have a news squawk, because the news is really important, and being able to hear it live headlines is really, really useful as a retail trader, and especially when you're doing those economic numbers. So their news squawk can be really, really expensive. Okay, but Financial Juice has a very affordable option. That's what I use. I think they do just as good of a job as anybody else. It's totally worth doing. It's $100 a month, but they do a good job, and that's what I use. So I have an affiliate link for them. Like when I did it, I got it. I tried it for a week, and I was like, oh yeah, guys, like you gotta give me an affiliate link for these, because I think that all my guys should be using this. So I have an affiliate link in the video description for Financial Juice. That's where you go for a news squawk. But if you're just going to websites, well, CNBC is a great place to go, because CNBC is like the most popular as far as I can tell. So like whatever narrative they're pushing at CNBC tends to be an influential narrative in the market. But Zero Hedge is another really, I mean, Zero Hedge has problems, don't get me wrong. They post a lot of really weird political nonsense. But they also post like analyst reports and order flow reports and analysis that will actually help you out. So reading Zero Hedge is really, really useful. Just ignore the political stories, right? I really like I for the paid subscription services, so you can go like Bazinga, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Financial Times. I have a Bloomberg subscription. I thought I'd try them out for a year. I haven't been that impressed with it. I don't visit it every day. When that is done, I think that I'm gonna go and get the Wall Street Journal. I think that the Wall Street Journal, it seems to be better for you if you're doing treasuries. So that's where I'd go. I think at some point in the future we want to make a video about that, comparing them all, but I'm still doing my research, I guess you could say so. What's the best paid news service, right? Could be a good video. Okay, so we're still seeing flattening, but the 10-year is mostly where it was. The 30-year moved up and the 5-year moved down. So we're seeing a divergence here in the treasuries, which is a little unusual. Especially to see that in this kind of action is a little, Thanks for the info. Yeah, no problem. If you're new here, I would highly recommend checking out the links in the video description. I mean, yes, I do make money from you guys clicking those links and buying the services, and I put that money back into making the YouTube channel a better channel. But I don't just put that stuff in there because, you know, you make money. I put those in there because those are the services that I think are going to bring you the most value, right? Those are all things that, you know, everybody should check out. So Ninja Trader is the best, Tom. Financial Juice is the most affordable news squawk service. Then I got Yada in there. Yada is just fun. But Wall Street sees Fed bond runoff end well before Powell timeline. I'm really tempted to go long the rates here, but I just don't think that the action justifies it. I'm looking for an opportunity to go long rates because I do think that rates will have to continue going up, but the action is still pretty lackadaisical or whatever. It's not really moving a whole lot. It doesn't take much volume to move it. I do think you got more support to the downside, especially in the volume, but I think there's too much of a risk of you getting in a position and it just kind of going nowhere. So I'll say that so that it'll move now. And you'll all make money trading it. I'll just sit here. Dude, I really did not get a good night's sleep, I think. I thought, oh, you know, I woke up at like 3 o'clock or whatever. No big deal. Took maybe like 20 minutes to go back to sleep. I think it really hit me because I did not feel good. It's important to be aware of these sorts of things because it can really affect your decision making, right? Like if I do go in and I get a trade and it doesn't work out, you know, not feeling good, my tendency is to want to take another trade, and then I'll go on a bender, right? It's probably better to just not start in this situation. Okay, let's see here. Hot air. Trump raid. What's the Biden Garland endgame? There has to be one, right? I'm not so sure. I think that the endgame was get the documents back, right? That's where I'm like, if that was all it was, then it was a dumb decision, right? Well, let's see. The FBI doesn't just go to a federal judge for a search warrant for the home of the former president on its own, and presumably a federal judge doesn't just casually sign off on such a request either. NBC's Ken Dillanian urges caution in jumping to conclusions at this point, but states the obvious when saying that this had to get approved by Merrick Garland prior to the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Yes. He's correct that it's no small matter to get a federal judge to sign off on a warrant, let alone one targeting a former president who might run for office next election cycle. That would, or at least it should, set off all sorts of red flags for a judge. This point got made repeatedly on social media for a good reason. It's true. Since we haven't seen the warrant, we can't assess what case the FBI and the Department of Justice put together to authorize this warrant. One has to presume, as a starting point, that the federal judge saw this warrant application in the proposed search of Donald Trump's residence as a necessary and appropriate action. Some of the early reporting doesn't make a lot of sense in that context, however. Yeah, this is exactly what I was saying to you guys earlier. John noted last night the early leaks to reporters said that this wasn't about January 6 or any of Trump's other woes, but about the illegal holding of classified material. The National Archives has been in conflict with Trump ever since he left office, accusing the former president of retaining records subject to the Presidential Records Act of 1978, PRA. When they retrieved 15 boxes of material in February by mutual agreement, they discovered classified material and got the FBI and Department of Justice involved in the dispute. Appropriately so, given the statutes governing the handling of classified material. You have the name. Where have you been, Uzi? I missed you. I'm pretty sure he's listening, but he just doesn't want to talk anymore. I don't know what the deal is. He is a judge in Florida. Always here. It's my boy. I knew the whole time. I was like, I said it the other day. You would have heard it, right? I was like, well, he just doesn't want to talk right now, but I bet you he's listening. I bet you he's listening. And someday Uzi will pass on, and I'll still say he's listening. Hopefully that's a long time from now, though. Okay, maybe I get something here. Bruce Reinhardt was sworn in as a United States Magistrate Judge for the Southern District of Florida on March 14, 2018. Prior to taking the bench, he was in private practice for 10 years, both as a solo practitioner and as a co-chair of the White Collar Crime Practice Group of a national firm. His practice focused on white-collar criminal defense and complex civil litigation. From 1996 to 2008, he was Assistant U.S. Attorney in Palm Beach. From 1998 and 96, he was a trial attorney in the Public Integrity Section of the U.S. Department of Justice, having entered the department as a part of the Attorney General's Honors Program. He began his legal career as a law clerk to the Honorable Norm L. Shapiro on the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Judge Reinhardt earned a degree in civil engineering cum laude from Princeton University in 1984 and a cum laude in 1987 from the university. Why do you go and you get a civil engineering and then you go to turn around and become go into law? That makes no sense. He represented Epstein's co-conspirators after he left his U.S. attorney position. Really? Okay. There's not a whole lot, like anything that I might find on him here on the internet right now, you probably want to save, right? Because he's going to become a person of interest awfully soon, right? Apparently we're ahead of the curve because well, maybe we're behind the curve. Maybe Google has already... Oh, okay, hold on. Wait a second. So what if I go to DuckDuckGo? So what I get here on Google is not very... Bring it over here so that I have it documented. Okay, let's go to DuckDuckGo. Here, wait. I'll show you on Google. Here's Google. Okay. Oh, there's a Malapita. It is interesting, yeah. I'm kind of curious where you got that information from. Yeah, no, not really getting anything there. As far as the internet is concerned, there's nothing interesting about this guy. Oh, right, tigerdroppings.com. Oh, this is probably a crazy link. Whoa. On October 23rd, 2007, as federal prosecutors in South Florida were in the midst of tense negotiations to finalize a plea deal with accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, a senior prosecutor in their office was quietly laying out plans to leave the U.S. Attorney's Office after 11 years. On that date, as emails were flying between Epstein's lawyers and federal prosecutors, Bruce E. Reinhardt, now a federal magistrate, opened a limited liability company in Florida that established what would become his new criminal defense practice. The stated address, according to Florida State Corporate Records, 250 South Australian Avenue, Suite 1400. It was the same location and identical suite number as that of Epstein's lead attorney, Jack Goldberger. By the end of the year, Reinhardt had resigned his post in Southern District of Florida. Within days, on January 2nd, 2008, he was hired to represent several of Epstein's accused accomplices who would later, like Epstein, receive federal immunity for allegedly trafficking underage girls. Reinhardt's defection was many of the highly unusual turns that the Epstein case took 12 years ago, moves that could merit examination as the multimillionaire's controversial prosecution agreement is dissected in the wake of his arrest last week on sex trafficking charges. Wow. Courtlistener.com. I don't get like where they're pulling that story from. Yeah, if you found the source on that, I would. Well, I don't necessarily care to have the source because I just read it. Just make sure that it's archived on the Wayback Machine, right? Or whatever it is. That's kind of a that's a little suspicious, isn't it? just a little suspicious. I'm not convinced that you would have to have proof of significant wrongdoing by Donald Trump to get that warrant. If you have a judge that's anti-Trump, I think all you would need is proof that he had the documents, right? And kind of the whole thing here is the documents so valuable that it was worth doing that for. Because I'm really skeptical on that point. Okay, so back to the hot air story. Some of that early reporting doesn't make a lot of sense in that context, however. As John noted last night, the early leaks to reporters said that this wasn't about January 6th or any of Trump's other woes, but about illegal holding of classified material. The National Archives has been in conflict with Trump ever since he left office, accusing the former president of retaining records subject to the Presidential Records Act of 1978. When they retrieved 15 boxes of material in February by mutual agreement, they discovered classified material and got the FBI and Department of Justice involved in the dispute. Appropriately so, given the statutes governing the handling of classified material. Getting a search warrant on the basis that Trump was still holding other classified material seems tricky after the first negotiated settlement, especially if intermediate steps weren't taken first, like suing Trump and getting a civil order to force Trump to return those documents. Such a search warrant request would require, as Dillinan says, a specific and detailed description of what the FBI wanted to find, followed by a post-search inventory of everything seized. The Department of Justice could have argued that such a step would have prompted the destruction of those documents, though, and a federal judge may have been sympathetic enough to that claim to authorize the raid yesterday to get their records back. But if that's all this is, a dispute over handling classified material, the Department of Justice had better prepare itself for major blowback. Yeah. Garland's predecessors rather infamously refused to prosecute former Secretary of State and then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton for the exact same crime while she ran against Trump, and perhaps on an even greater scale. Remember the infamous server that Clinton wiped with a cloth before reluctantly handing it over to the FBI that had thousands of classified documents in digital form, including a handful classified at top secret compartmented, the highest range of protection for the nation's secrets. The decision not to pursue charges in that case blew up into a major scandal for the Barack Obama administration, especially Loretta Lynch and James Comey, who would go on to other failures. Perhaps the Department of Justice doesn't plan to prosecute Trump over this either, but just wanted the materials back. That's what I'm saying. If Trump wasn't cooperating with the Department of Justice on compliance with the PRA, that might also have given a federal judge good reason to sign off on this warrant. Former presidents are not above the law after all. However, that's also a bit cute when it comes to real-world consequences. Raiding the home of a former president or the opposing party to the current administration is an unprecedented act. It is guaranteed to blow up the political equilibrium and create backfire in several different directions. Tossing that gasoline into the current political fire just to force the return of some documents and dropping the matter afterwards would be strange indeed. And yet that's what it seems like is the most likely thing to happen, yeah? Not to mention self-destructive. Republicans who might have felt a little complacent riding a red wave in November have suddenly gotten angry and energized all over again and are accusing Garland and Joe Biden of conducting a political vendetta and of setting a precedent that they will not enjoy living under. Because one day what goes around comes around, says Rubio. This kind of reaction is very predictable. Given the unprecedented nature of this raid, Biden may not be strategic enough to see it, but Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray certainly are. They had to know that they were buying years of misery with this operation, which prompts the question of what they had in mind conducting it. It has to have value enough to outstrip the current blowback, not to mention refueling the fire of Trump's presidential prospects, which had begun to fade in polling of late. That's what I'm saying. It can't just be an attempt to prosecute Trump under the PRA or statutes involving handling of classified material, as news reports said last night. That's a non-starter, especially with the multiple refuses to prosecute Hillary Clinton under similar conditions. There's either something bigger at stake here, or Garland and Wray are just made a volatile situational hours than they needed to be. Where does that leave us? Somewhere in the middle of Donald Rumsfeld's famous unknown unknowns and unknown unknowns. Until we see the warrants and the inventory of materials reduced, we won't grasp exactly what the Department of Justice had in mind with this raid at this point. It had better be something big enough to justify the seeming banana republic tactics taken last night. Keep your powder dry until then, but stay tuned. Yeah, that's what I think. The judge, the whole thing that you brought up to us about the judge is incredibly interesting. Are they talking about that on Patriots.win? Their top thread about it being pinned does not actually have that many comments on it, relatively speaking. I just can't help but laugh at some of their things. Oh, and stop worrying about me being dead. You know what? So here's the thing. One of my kids is at times seemingly depressed. I don't know. This is really weird to me. Okay, because like when he talks to his friends, and he's texting people, he's like talks like he is, what is the word? You know, like disablingly depressed, you know? But then when he comes upstairs, he's bright and happy and joking around with everybody and telling inappropriate jokes and stuff. He like seems super depressed and like he's gonna do something. And I'm constantly worrying about that. And you say things like that from time to time too. So it kind of just, I'm just kind of like a little, you know, I am I'm the anxious attachment type, you know, so I'm just kind of worried about any of you guys that come here regularly, you disappear. It's been a hard thing because there's been a couple of times where there have been people that were a big part of the stream for a while and they had to go their own ways for various reasons, and I don't want that to happen, but you know, in the long run we're better off for it. And it was kind of been a difficult thing for me to learn to overcome, like being anxious about it, but I think I'm getting better. So that's the only reason I'm like that. The only reason, but I mean that's why it's like that. That's just how the generation is. Seems to me like more of them go on the avoidant way of things rather. It's like the society is encouraging people to be avoidant in their attachments. So instead of being like worried that your attachments are going to disappear, you just anytime that anybody gets too close, you become uncomfortable and ghost them, right? Man, this. Okay, so if I had taken a trade back when I was saying I'm really tempted to take it at 2.81, I think. Anyways, I would be incredibly frustrated. So it was right for me to not take a trade. It is coming back down rather quickly. So everything that I don't know what the deal is. Everything that I'm seeing here, especially when you just look at the randomness of the chart, is kind of like, don't trade this. And yet I feel a strong desire to go long rates. I think it's just the larger term thing is like, I think the rates are going to go up on us, but it's okay. I can, there'll be plenty of time, right? In fact, I actually kind of wonder, what if tomorrow the number comes in line, maybe even 0.4, right? And things chill off, and then the next month after that it flares up again, because that's kind of what happened before, right? Was like there was really bad prints, and then it was like there's a few prints that weren't so bad, and then there was a bunch of another really bad prints, and it might go in waves like that, right? Yeah. See, sharp, this is exactly, it's interesting you see that about avoidance, because I did that, but only because I never wanted to come across as clingy. I never did it to my family, though. That's exactly it. So let me tell you the great lie in dating, Sharp and Goose. The great lie is that you'll do better in dating if you are avoidant. It really is a great lie. What happens is about 50% of the population is secure. That means that they easily make new attachments, and they're okay if attachments disappear because they're confident that they'll be able to form new attachments. Okay. The rest of the population is split between anxious and avoidant. Okay. And what happens is the secure people pair off and get married very easily. And so the dating world is full of largely these people with the attachment problems that are anxious or avoidant. Okay. And the society kind of teaches the avoidant people that like the being avoidant is empowering, right? Is get all of these people and then ghost them, and that, you know, you're the one that's in charge and you've got the power and everything, right? And it used to be that it was primarily a male trait, but it's becoming more and more a female trait now too. Okay. So a lot of dating advice and so forth encourages people to be like that. See, I say I feel a strong desire to go long. Look, there's 10 ticks. We'll see if this continues lower now. Anyways, so you get a lot of dating advice from people that say, oh yeah, if you want to go and date a ton of people, then you got to do this stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, probably if you want to date a ton of different people, that sort of tactic probably would work really well for you. But that's not the person that you want to listen to. The person that you want to listen to is the person that didn't date for very long, and they immediately found somebody that they liked and they got married and they've been happy ever since. That's the person that you want to talk to about it, right? About attachment. Because these other people, they'll teach you all this crap about, like, don't respond to them right away and don't let them know how much you like them and all of this sort of nonsense. What you're really doing is you're just selecting for a partner with attachment problems, right? Don't mess with that. Go for the partner where you is like, seriously, with my wife. I mean, I had gotten pretty good at dating by that point, but with her, I made all of the mistakes. Because I was still having problems from other relationships I had that I was disappointed about, right? And even with all of that, it still ended up working out, right? Like, that's the thing, is if you find somebody that's secure, you don't, because everything in dating, they treat everything in dating like, oh man, you can't screw up. You got to be careful, because if you screw up, that could really screw you up in the long run, right? Well, that might have been the case 50 years ago when it was like you in your small town, and if you got rejected by the right person, then like everybody knew. But it's not the situation now. It's like, if it doesn't work out with them, there's like 10,000 other people that you could potentially match with on Tinder, right? And when you find the person that's secure, it's like you literally can't screw it up. So you might as well just take the risks and be willing to risk putting yourself out there and them being disinterested in you, because you make your interest known and you're out there. But in the long run, you're going to find the secure partner. And let me tell you what, guys, I wouldn't be able to do this without her. Would not. Oh man, there's this thread on Reddit yesterday where they were talking about, why do women initiate divorce? And I don't want to get into that part too much, but the point that I made was like, look, when you get married, everybody's making a sacrifice, right? They were all kind of pushing back on me about this. They were like, well, but if you're single and if you're married and you don't have kids, you'd have more income between the two of you. Okay, yeah, but you're gonna have to make lifestyle changes to accommodate each other's lives, okay? Partnership like that involves sacrifice, and having kids involves sacrifice. You don't have kids unless you have a great sense of purpose and that it's your duty to do it. And it is, because that's how society works. Is we have kids, we build society for those kids so that their lives can be better than ours were. And that's how the human race has gotten to where it is today, right? Everybody makes sacrifices, and all these guys, they didn't seem to get it on Reddit. But the reality is that at my house, my wife does a lot of chores, and if I do a chore, it's because she told me to, because I just don't think about those sorts of things. I mean, that really is just the thing. We can do better with that, for sure. But I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to be as effective at my job, etc., without her. And like, specifically, she is extremely emotionally stable. So like, I can come in and be like, oh man, I did the dumbest trade and I lost $500 today, and what was I thinking? It was so dumb. You can do all that stuff, right? She's like, okay, whatever. She doesn't care, but it doesn't, she's so emotionally stable, it doesn't phase her, and she knows what to do to be supportive about it. Wouldn't be able to do this without her. I would be too what is the word? I'd be too neurotic to be effective at trading without the secure relationship. Or if I had a partner that was anxious, every time that I lost money, they got anxious about it, that would just make me so much worse, right? Mhm. Well, they had a good little probe to the downside. They've backed off a little bit. What I'm still seeing here is the treasuries are selling today, man. Like, it's been slow action here this morning, but they have actually sold a good 20-30,000 contracts net. So probably there are two forces here kind of meeting into each other in a relatively low liquidity area. Hmm. Well, another thing is the S&P 500 for the first 20 minutes going nowhere. Goes nowhere. I wonder, I bet you that there's a lot of price action traders are probably trying to be really active here in this area, but I think that it's just noise. Man, not much on Twitter this morning from the traders. We're all just waiting for that CPI. Well, I think that today's title we're gonna have to, or the title will be Trump gets raided. I mean, that's what we're gonna remember this day as. No, let's not say Trump gets, let's just say Trump raided. There you go. You guys must know it too, because the audience is light this morning. Kind of wonder, there must be like, you know, there's a bunch of really professional traders that want to come and watch me and like make my life difficult. But, you know, they know that nothing's going to happen today, so they just didn't even bother stopping by. Jeez. When I go to the Donald and their story, the top comment on it about the Trump raid is basically calling for civil war. I'm really have a hard time if like these are real people. I kind of wonder if those are not Russian disinformation agents trying to push this civil war angle. I don't think so, no. I think we should just watch and see what happens. I think this story could get a lot more interesting. And if it doesn't get a lot more interesting, that's really interesting. That's all there is to it. It really makes you wonder. Alan Dershowitz rips. FBI raid on Trump raises legal questions about how it was conducted. A raid should be a method of last resort if they can't get the documents through subpoenas or any other lawful methods. This is improper and this is misconduct. it looked like maybe they were going to bounce there, but look, a significant take at 15. Yeah. Actually, we might be seeing the curve steepen back out just a tad. Just a tad. Additionally, he said they improperly opened the safe on the premises, which should not have been done. Maybe a liquidity hole at there at 15, because sometimes when I get that kind of like out of the corner of my eye, oh, that tick was maybe significant, and it does it multiple times, that actually means we're in a liquidity hole. They gonna reverse back up? Well, no. The S&P 500 is turning to the downside at the moment. They finally broke out of that sideways no man's land, and they're trading down. Let's see if there's any new news on Zero Hedge. No, there's not. Yeah, no, not a whole lot of news on Zero Hedge this morning. I guess I need to just sit here and rail about how big of an injustice it is that a former president is being targeted by the FBI unfairly, to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Rally the truth. Is that what people want to hear? They don't want to hear, oh, Seth says, yeah, let's just see what happens. Listen, here's the thing. The internet's not very good at teaching you patience. But I remember when I first really got interested in politics, because I was always interested in politics, like the Iraq War and stuff, before I went on my mission when I was in the new Gestapo at work. When I was in high school, you know, it was all about the Iraq War, and I enjoyed the arguments about the Iraq War, although I do think that those of us that were saying that there was weapons of mass destruction there were in the end proven wrong. When I come back, the big news story of the time was that the Democrats with Obama, was it Obama? No, it wasn't Obama. It was Democrats controlled the House and Senate, but Bush was still president, and he wanted an immigration bill, and the party got a hold of that, found out about that, and pushed back really hard, and that bill didn't end up happening. I don't think that people realize how important of an event that was. That really set the whole stage for the political battles that we've had for the 20 years since. Okay, but I remember it being like such a dire thing. And like Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh would be on. That was where, you know, I'd hear a lot of that stuff. It was always like, oh man, like this is the big, you need to call everybody and do all this stuff, and all you got to make sure to come back tomorrow because we're gonna have important stuff tomorrow. And I'm realizing like, oh, really what they do is they just kind of string you along. They make everything out that they say to be much more significant than it actually is. They make it to be much more significant than it actually is, to keep you watching, right? And that was when I kind of realized it was like after going through that cycle about like a billion times, you just kind of are like, okay, well, that one was an interesting story. Let's see how it turns out. Because the interesting thing is almost never the initial story, right? It's going to get more interesting. It's all about new voters. Could be. It is pretty, well, I don't know about this. Okay, so I want to tell you something that you might be alluding to that is not actually what it seems. So one of the things that's been happening is the Republican governor of Texas, I think, Abbott, is that his name, has been rounding up illegal immigrants in his state, not illegal immigrants, but people that are claiming asylum and are waiting their claims to be adjudicated. And he's busing them to Democratic states. And then the Democrats will come out and are really upset that they're doing this, right? So the narrative that you hear from the Republicans is, okay, so now you have a big problem with it when they get sent to your state. How hypocritical, right? Well, actually, no, that's not the case. The reason that they're upset is because they think that they're being told that the immigrants were bused there against their will, essentially. That's why they're upset about it. They haven't really complained too much about the strain on their resources yet. Although it's still kind of there, but it's not why they're outraged at the moment. Kind of interesting. But is it all about new voters? Yeah, I do think that a lot of political decisions are made based primarily on what you think it will do for your voting base in the future. Yeah. I don't even, and you know, in many cases, it might not even be a conscious strategy, right? People just kind of, they make the decision that they want, and then they come up for a justification for it later, right? Dude, so my Alice indicator at the moment says 1,800 contracts. That's not very good. That is, yeah, no, that is not very good at all. In Arizona, I don't know. There was that whole thing about a rule in California that basically allowed illegal immigrants to vote in local elections, but a California judge struck that down this week. What a time to be alive. It's like the collapse of Rome, but with Wi-Fi. Maybe there was an attempt. I don't know. I don't keep track of what's going on in Arizona very well, believe it or not. The Republicans are rightly picking, like McConnell released a statement, the guy in the House released, like they're rightly picking up on that their constituency is really upset about this. And they're taking advantage of it. Okay, so Treasuries did pull back again. So that move right there, that move back up, right back up there, is the one that has me say, yeah, I'm definitely not taking a trade now. I was okay messing around with it before. Not now. No. No. In California, they did have a law that was, yeah. You like the music, Randy? Thanks. It's not my music, but I'm glad that the music has been a positive change, because I was really concerned, especially when I voted about it. I was like, well, let's do it anyways. Of course, the numbers on the stream have still been light. I think that that's more a function of what the markets are at this moment, right? A lot of people tuned out of the markets when they came down. They're like, oh, I guess I suck at this. Like, I saw a thread on Reddit yesterday. They were like, yeah, I tried doing day trading. I did really good at the beginning, and now I've given thousands of dollars back, and pretty soon I won't be above the pattern day trader rule anymore either. So I have to quit and go back to a real job. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of that going on. People realizing that they were no good at it and disappearing. Wish I understood why oh yeah, never mind. I remember why live action deletes his messages later. But it's the summer is the other thing, and so that's why the stream numbers have been lighter. Thought you could day trade for a living with only 25k? No, I think that if you really wanted to day trade for a living, you would probably want to have at least 100,000, to be honest with you. I mean, to do it reliably. I don't think people realize, because they see all of these other traders come in and make these huge winnings and like 10x an account and everything, and think, oh yeah, like you could totally start with $5,000 and make a living from this. But like, what they don't realize is that that's like a 1 in a 1,000 chance, right? That's like if you had 1,000 monkeys and every day had them guess the direction of the market, right? And you do that enough times, and eventually you'd end up with the one monkey left that got it right every time. And what was it? It was just luck, right? It was just, on a distribution, there's going to be the outlier, even in a completely random distribution. Oh, I don't think that he owned only 25k. It sounded like that he had gotten up into that he had last thousands, though. That he was above 30, 40k at points, but not anymore. That's what leverage will do to you, right? Tudor Jones trading with 10k. Well, 1 in 1,000, right? But the point that I was trying to make is, okay, so Tudor Jones, he might have started with 10,000, right? But he probably could not go through with a 10,000 every year and 10x that every year, right? That's what I'm saying. And for the amount of money that most retail day traders have, to make a real living off of that, that's what you'd have to be doing, right? Or like, what you got to do is, like, if you start with 10k and turn it into 2 million and then retire on that, right? This is the reality. Is that most of the people that I've met that are quote unquote day trading for a living have a spouse that makes money. It's not their sole source of income. Yeah, it popped up, it came down, it could break, but I'm not going to touch it. I have to tell that, but because I want to do it. I want to do it really badly, but this has just been bad action, bad circumstances. I don't really have such a strong reason to go short it. You can, well, yeah, you took excessive risks. That doesn't mean that you should do it. S&P falling down there. When I look at that chart of the S&P 500, it makes me feel a little anxious, I think. So yesterday I was at the store, right? And it was kind of depressing, man. Like it was, I mean, it wasn't that much. I think I spent $150 on groceries, but it was kind of like the intermediate grocery shopping, you know? It was like, oh, this isn't everything that we need, but this is everything that we know that we need right now. I don't have time to really think about it, so let's just go get food in the meantime. Okay, $150. Like, if that's making me feel down, I can only imagine what it's like for most people. You know? Excessive risk doesn't hold the throat. What are you eating? Rice and beans? Well, things are cheaper in Utah. It helps to be in Utah. Oh, I was buying meat and stuff too. I had hamburgers and chicken, and you spent $30 on chicken breast? What? Like 4 chicken breasts was $15. 4 chicken breasts was $15. And that was like, oh, like over $10 for an item is like, oh, that's a lot. Oh man. It's just like the whole thing is that I've been lucky. I got in, I had done well with real estate essentially. And we flipped a house, right? And were able to get a really large down payment on this house. And then avoid a lot of these problems that other people have had, right? So when inflation is hitting me, it's, you know, I can only imagine what it's like for most people. Oh, it was in Miami. There you go. It just feels so much to me like they're going to break the lows and go for it. But I really shouldn't take a trade. I really shouldn't be touching it. I think it should just not do anything. That'll make me feel better. Probably. But anyways, like, look, it would be really irresponsible of me to come on here and be like, oh yeah, guys, just aim, you know, hit for the fences, right? Go big, try and turn your $10,000 into $1 million and all of these sorts of things. But like, here's the thing. Probably you're not going to make that money. And I want to give you as many chances as you can get to do it, right? Right? I'm trying to maximize your chances of success here. So don't take excessive plays. Get good. Right? Take tiny risks and get good at it. Okay? Someday, if you get good at it, someday you will see a situation where you just know that it is your opportunity to make money and go big. Right? Take a contract, it starts going your way, start adding to it and stuff, right? When you know that it's the big one. Crab legs, 40. Well, crab legs are always expensive though. I hate crab legs because it's like, I'll get it because the family thinks, oh yeah, we'd love to have crab legs. And then you get it and they realize, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't like them. I don't think that the taste of crab legs is so great to justify their cost. Man, it's gonna go. It looks like it's gonna just break. Well, the 5-year is, or sorry, the 30-year is still hanging back here. It's just the 5 that's going, so we're just getting some pretty hard flattening still. Which isn't very good for us if we take a trade in the 10-year, right? Like, pretty decent amount of movement here, and you would have only made $10. So Well. Oh, by the way, when we were seeing gold move up earlier, what happened with that? Looks like they did come back quite a bit. So it looks like I probably need to tilt this a little bit more. Or maybe that means I have it tilted too much. I don't know. Let's try that. Let's tilt it a little bit back. S&P 500 did take a decline by about 10, 15 points, but maybe recovering. This is, compared to what they've been doing, first 2 days this week have been incredibly quiet in the markets. This is like, well, I guess it is August, right? This is like peak summer action, right? Just the worst. Oh, what's this from Bloomberg? Let's read this. This is pertinent to my interests. Tough markets hit active asset managers striving for turnarounds. Aberdeen, Janus, and Jupiter are money managers seeking outflows. Firms are among active managers seeking a reversal of fortunes. Some active managers have none of the luck. They shook up senior teams, swapped out their bosses, and merged to build scale, but their efforts to overcome the years-long erosion of assets and profit as investors shift from actively managed fund into cheaper index tracking products just took another blow. The latest round of earnings reports offer a bruising read. Rising inflation, Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine, and fears of a looming recession have dented investment performance, prompting investors to yank yet more assets. Don't get too comfortable. CPI, well, yeah. CPI tomorrow will be crazy. But let me ask you this. So what do you guys think your opinion is? What if CPI tomorrow comes in at 0.5? What if? Should we have a poll? Should we have a poll? What if core inflation is 0.5? Is in line at 0.5? Panic. This is really good. Meh, nothing will happen. Or meh. Or meh. What do you think? Tell me. Vote now. Because I'm a little bit worried that the CPI next week will be in line and that the market will just yawn at it, and then the treasuries just meander around here in these areas for a really long time and don't do anything worthwhile. And every day ends up being like this, where it's like, oh, I could maybe take a $10, but it doesn't look like good action, When I stop talking and I'm taking a breather, like really what I'm doing is like, I really just want to go to sleep. Well, let's see here. 3 of you say meh. No, 2 of you say meh, and 1 of you say panic so far. Yeah, the 10-year looks like it wants to do it. They're going to have to drag the 30 with them. The 30 hasn't been able to break out of its range yet. I'm surprised nobody's selling it there at 02. That is curious. Maybe we'll get a move before we go. There's 13. Uptick. AI dating. Wow. Okay. Serena Williams says she plans to, quote, move away from tennis. Would be tiring after a long time, wouldn't it? Yeah, right back up. Wait, what is this? This is an interesting story. We're getting outside of market news stuff now, though. An omnipresent AI runs Tencent's RGB-fueled nightmare esports hotel. Tencent is partnering with Oyu Technology to open an esports hotel in Hangzhou, China later this month. It is stuffed to the gills with gaming hardware and rooms themed after esports leagues, and its guests will all be watched over by the all-seeing eye of VG, a virtual hotel manager pulled from the blackest depths of the uncanny valley. Let's see here. And there is this AI. It's an anime looking, well, actually no, it looks more like a real human. And look, you can play on these touchscreens. That looks like not actually that fun. But if you have a computer in your room, maybe. Bounce already, you say? You looking for the bounce in ES or in the treasuries? Does kind of look like maybe you could get a bounce in the treasury. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they went all the way back up to the highs. Okay, yeah, ES. Yeah, that one makes a little more sense. I mean, she doesn't look too uncanny to me. Wait, let's make it full screen. Look, she looks nice. She doesn't look, there's nothing uncanny about or dystopian about this at all. Come on, PC gamer. Appropriately, the video above makes the whole experience look a lot like spending a night inside a coruscating gaming PC. I don't know what that's about. And the Chinese press release makes it sound like more of a sports-themed park ride and boot camp than an actual hotel for sleeping in. Guests are urged to partake in a range of esports-themed activities, including 5 esport talent tests, evaluating things like eyesight, reaction time, and strategy, allowing them to experience the training methods of esports players in an immersive way. Presumably without the grueling hours-long training sessions. Okay, like because you can't do that at home. I don't know about the whole gaming AI thing being weird, but it's a giant PC bang that you happen to sleep in. Sounds like, yeah. But the real centerpiece of the experience is VG, the establishment's discomforting digital overseer who's part manager and part coach. The hotel's many features are all accessed under the guidance of VG. She's present throughout the hotel and in every room like a creepier but less threatening Shodan. If the thought of spending all night watched over by the machine of loving grace appear. Wait, what? Why is this a link? Why? Okay, never mind. It's a link to a poem. Okay. Fiji is more than happy to configure a room to your liking once you've decided whether to spring for one of the hotel's 5 themed room default, which corresponds to a particular esports league. You can choose to load it with your own selection of esports hardware, ranging from mobile phones to elaborate gaming PC setups. I mean, can we get better pictures? Nope. I always find it amusing when you search Google for something and it hasn't picked up on it yet. You know, it's kind of sad that the whole like LAN party thing doesn't really happen anymore. So I kind of was realizing that the things that I used to do to be social, like conferences and stuff, they're like none of them happen anymore. Like, you know what? We don't get out much. We probably should. Miss the split screen Halo. I'm not into Halo. See, here's the thing. While y'all's was playing Halo, I was over here acting like, why does Halo suck so much compared to Unreal Tournament? Like why the console shooter, it still makes no sense to me. I just can't wrap my head around how people enjoy controller shooters. You know? I just don't get it. I don't find the controller shooters fun at all, because all the whole time you're just thinking, man, if I had a mouse. They canceled. Did you were you involved in that? Because I was involved in that a lot, and maybe I remember you from that, because I ran the Beyond Unreal podcast and stuff. Well, yeah, they canceled it for Fortnite, but it was kind of dead. Like here's the thing, Sharp. I need to get together with my friend. I don't know how I'd get him up here. We need to get together with my friend and make like a final podcast to like go over it now that it's been like 5 years or however long. I mean, it's been a long time. Okay, it's been a long time. But it seems to me like the game was doomed to begin with anyways. Like, I was one of the people that was vocal about, oh, we should totally get into the esports thing, right? And like, it was an okay idea, and that was the way that the industry went. But the reality is that there was absolutely nothing that we were talking about that was ever going to stand a chance against Overwatch, right? It never stood a chance against Overwatch and the money that they put behind the sports league for it, right? So I think that the reality was that the project was doomed from the beginning, and we just didn't know it. You know, now we could have taken it in a different direction. I think that if we had, there were some people that I really regret dismissing that suggested that it really should be more of like a sandbox game. Like, you create the base thing that is just deathmatch, and then you put all of your effort into making tools so that people can create mods really easily. Right? And that probably would have worked better. Like, if we had done that and the custom content had worked better, I don't think it would have gotten dropped. I think that people would still be doing stuff with it. Right? Like, I think that we made the wrong call. But in the end, like, Epic has Fortnite, and you can make custom content for any of those, and yet they still don't have the same kind of ecosystem that Unreal Tournament had, mod ecosystem that Unreal Tournament had back in the day, right? So it was probably doomed to begin with. I could have gotten big into Fortnite. Like, I remember when they released the battle royale mode, and I was like, well, that's a popular thing. We could try it, and we could do this. But like I tried it, and I just wasn't into it, so we gave up. And then eventually I started day trading in 2016. At least Quake Champions is successful. Yeah, does it still get played very much? I remember enjoying. Well, you know what? The problem with that game is that the engine just was not there. I hear that it is making another shooter, and that there's a bunch of other guys that have gotten together and they're making some sort of shooter, but we don't know what they are. So maybe there'll be another shooter in the future. I don't know. The thing that I never understood is like, well, actually they did kind of do this. So, what is that? The one that's popular right now? It's funny that I can't even freaking remember its name. No. So this one, all of the characters are spheres. And you can put your own decals on the spheres and make it look like whatever you want. I actually think it's really cool. I really like the game, actually. And I think they got all the gameplay right. Like, it's basically Quake 3 Arena, but with a shock rifle. They added a shock rifle into it. Oh, what was it called? And I could open up the Epic Game Store and find it. Diabolical, that's what it's called. Diabolical. Yeah. I thought that was great. I thought that they did a good job and they made all the right decisions on it gameplay wise and stuff. And people were still just like, meh. Doesn't look like Quake, so I'm not interested. It's a kid's game with spheres. Ugh. That was the thing that kind of killed it for me. I was like, wow. The community for this game just really doesn't actually exist. You guys didn't actually enjoy playing the game. You just liked the gothy atmosphere of Quake. That's what it was. That's how I felt about that game. But that was relatively, and you can still go and play that one. But I think the other issue is that, like, okay, so like Team Arena essentially is like the game that everybody likes to play, where quick rounds and you, when you die you're dead or whatever, right? They kind of have a version of it that kind of sucks, but anyways, I digress. People like it for the in your face action aspect of it, I think. And it seems like they don't necessarily, the games don't necessarily optimize towards that. But then when they do optimize towards that, people lose interest in it really quickly, because just like the base shooter gameplay of it is apparently not enough to keep people interested. It's just too simple or whatever. So I don't know where the arena shooter goes. It kind of feels dead to me. I don't know what you do to bring it back. Kind of sucks, because the other games just don't do it for me. Like I played Apex Legends and stuff. That was fun for a while, but I just get tired of it. It's like I want to actually fight. I don't want to spend half the time looking for objects and looking for people and stuff. And I really hate where if you try to be aggressive and you go and you get in the fight, you know, half of the time you'll lose the first battle and then you have to reload everything. It's like another 5 minutes before you get to shoot stuff again. And it should be like 10 seconds, right? It's been dead for over 10 years, especially for people that want to play duels. Yeah. That's the thing, is like Diabolical. I really thought that was like the one that did everything right. Well, they didn't do everything right. I think that a lot of people would claim that it did poorly because it's on the Epic Game Store. That's one problem. But I'm not convinced that you get rid of that you have a successful game, you know? I tried to play C3 CPMA and had to compete with people that played for 20 years seriously. Yeah. Well, but you know what? CPMA is actually not that great. So one of the things with that Quake turns into is when I hate this. The Quake guys are going to hate me, okay? But Unreal Tournament is about tactical gameplay, which is to say all of the weapons can be used in very tactical situations, and you don't actually want to chase people because it's very, very easy to spam corners and stuff. In Quake, that doesn't exist. And so in Quake, it tends to turn more into a predator prey kind of dynamic where you're chasing each other around. And the more free the movement becomes, the stronger that component ends up playing in it. And so it ends up being two people chasing each other down a hallway and trying to hit each other with sniper rifles. But it's not actually that fun, I don't think. I think that it's more fun when people are really close in, but they have a lot of agility to move around randomly to try and dodge things, but you're like in your face. Because again, I think that what drives people to the genre is the action aspect of it, which is maybe works against it because it seems like other gamers don't want the action. The other gamers kind of like the, okay, it's quiet, and then I only have like a minute or two of action, and then it's quiet again. Back to 16, eh? How many times have I said here today, like, I don't want to trade it, I shouldn't trade it, and then I come back and I have to talk myself out of it still. Like, I want to take a trade, but I know that it's not good trading. And you know what? I've been right, haven't I? Been right this whole time. It didn't turn into that trend. It was well past time for that to happen. And trading has been pretty crappy here during the regular session. Why don't I trust myself? I'm afraid of missing something. I'm afraid of missing something. Well, I used to be like that for the games. I used to follow really, really closely in case like another game like that came out and I could get good at it really quickly and stuff, you know? But man, there hasn't been a really significant oh my gosh, I hate it when it does this. Okay, so I need to turn on my stream beats. It like when it's done with the playlist, it goes off to something else, and I need to turn that off. So who knows how many videos, how many songs it was playing there that will have to be muted. $30 years turning up again, so I'm still seeing quite a significant amount of flattening in the curve here, man. Most of these other markets are just sideways too, to be honest with you. I don't know how people can watch League of Legends. Well, okay, so I can explain it. So real-time strategy games actually end up being the best esports, because what is interesting about watching an esport is the storyline that you can thread together between matches. So, you know, StarCraft does this really, really well, right? StarCraft's been around forever. You would think that every game goes the same way, but like they're all completely different. Every game is completely different. And the story about which decisions they made, and not only that, but like, you know, how they're changing between matches and stuff like that, that's interesting to watch. That's compelling. That's a storyline, right? If I'm playing Unreal Tournament, if I'm streaming Unreal Tournament, how do you tell that story? because so much of it is dependent on the mechanical skill of the game. And when it's purely mechanical skill, all we can talk about is how good your mechanical skill is, right? But when you get a game that's mostly strategy, there's a lot to talk about, right? People like the stories, right? Now, StarCraft is a little complicated. It's kind of hard to follow if you didn't play it, right? Or you're a regular watcher. But League of Legends doesn't have that problem. League of Legends is really, really easy to understand. And so that's why it ends up becoming the most streamable esport. I do though. Like I tried getting into that. Like I'll go through this period where it's like, well, I would like to play games more again. What are the popular games? Because I'm tired of playing game that nobody else wants to play. So let's just go to what's popular, right? Oh, okay, League of Legends is popular, so I'll play it for like a month and then I get bored of it. Happens over and over again to me. And I've kind of gotten to a point now where like when I do play games, it's just like some casual games that have a lot of replayability. Like I'll play Tetris. Oh, I like to still play Super Metroid. That's fun to play through. That, you know, like those kind of more classics. Every once in a while I'll come in and play a game. I when I play shooters, I get a little dizzy now. So I am getting old. I'm still good though. It only takes about a day and my accuracy comes right back. StarCraft 2 still has a really active... Well, any Blizzard game does. I just really didn't like the way that StarCraft 2 ended up playing. If that makes sense. Because I was really into it in the beta. But like what happened was I felt like there were certain strategies in the game where it was like that was the only thing you could do and you were always at a disadvantage in it. And like it just didn't balance as well for whatever reason. Like in StarCraft, there's that thing like there's certain build orders that you've got to do and stuff, but the problem in StarCraft 2 was like the end game. It was like you got to that point and then you got to the end game and you were in a situation where it was like the same thing always ended up happening. The Terrans would create a marine medic ball and kill everything. It was annoying AF, and that's why I stopped playing that one. That happens a lot though, is like a game will be really good and then they'll make a change that just totally ruins it for you, you know? Like I was really into the new Unreal Tournament until they nerfed the translocator and tried to make it more like the UT99 translocator, and then it wasn't fun anymore. I think some of the UT99 pros talked the developers into some bad decisions. Release some patches to change that, especially for Pro Sauce nerfing carriers. But you know what I wish? I wish that they would do a balance patch for Brood War. No, I'm not even joking. Everybody says that Brood War is like the most balanced game ever. It's not. The balance is actually absolutely terrible. But there's only one change that I would make that I'd be absolutely certain about. There's one change, and that is spore colonies should do +1 bio damage. In other words, spore colonies are really effective against mutalisks. And then Zerg versus Zerg would be about more than just massing mutalisks. And that could be interesting. That could be fun to play and watch. Well, look, all the way back up to 19. you could have taken it short here and made $20, but again, it's kind of risky, and in this kind of slow action, I don't know if it's really worth it. Hey Jacob, there you are. Hey, you know what? That reminds me, because you sent me a message yesterday. Oh no, that wasn't you. That was Oliver. Somebody sent me a message yesterday, and every time I click their link, like, it wouldn't load for me. Oh, it does load for me now. Order flow and imbalance and high frequency trading. What have you been up to? It's almost time. You're late. You're like 2 hours late, man. What's going on here? Well, yeah, actually, it's probably good because nothing really happened this session. Treasuries wiggled around quite a bit back and forth and kept making me feel like it's going to do something, but I knew better, and I avoided trading. It was hard because I really wanted to take some trades. Do I get a tardy mark? Yes, you do. We're going to put it here on the whiteboard, all of you guys, and we're going to start marking attendance. Waiting for tomorrow. I'm sure that's what a lot of people in the markets are doing. It hasn't happened like this in a while, but I'm really concerned that tomorrow it comes in line and that the market doesn't really actually know what to do with it. Couchin in Pitt's model. I'm not familiar with that. What's his trading strategy? Let's see here. I have no clue what this is saying. This trading strategy is based on two particular aspects emerged in the preceding paragraph. The order flow has a positive and significant first lag in its autocorrelation function. The quantile regression on order flow and returns illustrates that the effective order flow is stronger for the positive quantile of returns distribution. Moreover, with the use of the multiple regression, it is shown that trading volume has a positive relation with returns. In the light of these outcomes, the strategy will only open long positions due to the fact that the coefficients of order flow for positive returns are higher, meaning that the effects are stronger. The trading volume is included as a value of the strategy because we choose to identify the situations when the market activity is intense with a positive buying pressure. The strategy will perform only on one time interval because the statistical results show clearer effects than others based on other time intervals. It is necessary to specify the assumptions underlying. I already see some problems with what he's doing. He's trading the DAX, so that's just that, yeah, equities, order flow is more useful on equities when it's going up, sure. Number of trades 496, so not even close to enough trades for an order flow strategy. Yeah, I'm not too impressed with this study, to be honest with you. Might be a best to wait for Thursday to clearly see what they make of it. Yeah, well, tomorrow could be really volatile if it goes that way, right? Okay, well, so right here at 19 is kind of the area where we've been seeing resistance on a relative basis. Or rather, every time that we come back to the seller's average position, we've sold off this. So we'll see what happens. maybe something changes. The S&P 500 is on the up. Oh, there's D. How are you doing, my friend? Did you guys all just tell me, did you all just decide to sleep in just randomly? Or like, did you know that today was not going to be a very good day? Oh, I'm seeing some dollar strength coming in here. Both. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting thread on r/4x. The market is always against me. What to do? Stop trading, probably. You use the Costanza method. Yeah, I had a bad sleep, man. The baby was not happy last night. We'll see how he is this morning. Because he seemed okay during the day, but he was coughing, and my wife was... It's like, oh my gosh. So she's got this thing where it's like there's this little part that you stick up to their nose, and then it's got like a tube that comes off of it, and it's got like a valve in it so that like the snot can't come up the tube, right? Only just air, but it still just seems gross. And then you suck on the tube and it sucks the snot out of the baby's nose. She was doing that all night. It's so gross, man. It's so gross. Ugh. I thought, oh, you know, it was no big deal. I woke up maybe once and didn't go immediately back to sleep, but no, I think it really affected me because I do feel kind of sleepy this morning. What are your thoughts on the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago? Only 4 comments so far. Ooh, speaking of which, we can watch ASL round of 14, SL14 round of 24 day 1. Hooray! Watch me some StarCraft tonight. And even I'm watching Evangelion with the kid. We'll see what he thinks. My wife was like, I didn't really like it that much the first time. So this time we're watching, I'm like pausing. I'm like, okay, notice this? Notice that these are all the things that you're missing because you never watch movies. You just listen to them. Hey, look, that was a breach of the high. No, it wasn't a breach of the high, but it was a breach of the seller's level, which I would consider significant. So maybe today ends up being a buy day. Well, the order flow for most of the day has been sell, but it's just kind of meandered. That kind of suggests to me a passive buyer, yeah? Maybe somebody's making a bet on CPI being less than expected tomorrow. But, yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. S&P 500 still hasn't decided what it's going to do today. I don't know. Some individual stocks have been doing really well. My portfolio actually did really well yesterday, even though the net change wasn't too much in the end. So a little bit of alpha there for me yesterday. Yep. I think that's it for me today, guys. But I will see you tomorrow for that CPI news. I'll go to bed extra early and be well rested for that. So, in the meantime, stay profitable, friends. Or at least don't blow it all. Or at least don't blow it all before the CPI, right?